Story 1. The Mirror Match. She didn't swipe right on the first photo, or the second. It felt like cheating, like vanity swallowed whole. The profile was a mirror of her same hair, same tilt of the head, same thrifted leather jacket. Even the scar near her eyebrow from crashing her first e-scooter at 19 right there. The name was Mara. That wasn't her name, but everything else was. Dana. She zoomed in on the photos, picking at pixels like a scab. Not the exact same apartment, at least. Mara's background was a bathroom with subway tiles. Dana's place had peeling paint and a plant that refused to die. In one photo, Mara leaned in, lips glossed, framed by a neon sign that read, "I'm your type." A little on the nose for a dating app, Dana thought. She almost swiped left. Then the profile message popped up without her swiping. "Hi." Dana stared. On this app, only matches could message you. She locked her phone and tossed it on the bed. Somewhere outside, sirens pulled a string through the night, long and taut. Her roommate had moved out last month, and the quiet wasn't friendly yet. The glow of her monitor reflected in the window and painted a pale ghost over the city. She picked up the phone again. The hi had been followed by another. "You are going to swipe left." A pre-canned icebreaker? She scrolled the profile expecting a link, an ad, a prank. Nothing. Verified badge. The little blue check. She'd had to send in a video and hold up fingers to get hers. "We didn't match." "Mara, we did. You just haven't accepted it yet." Dana felt the stupid thrill of being seen, then the twist of a hook. She typed, erased, typed again. "You look like me. You look like me." Dana laughed out loud. Alone. She was 26 and old enough to know not to meet strangers from apps, but she also knew how loneliness worked, how it knocks, how you answer it against your better judgment. "Send me a photo right now," Dana typed. 3 fingers, tongue out, dumb face. A second later, the screen flashed. Mara, 3 fingers up, tongue out, dumb face. Same beauty mark by the collarbone, same chipped nail polish. "Where are you?" Dana typed. Mara sent a pin, a general neighborhood a few blocks away, along with a photo of a street lamp hissing in drizzle. The angle felt familiar. Dana squinted. Was that the florist where she bought discount dahlias Sundays at closing? Coincidence, Dana muttered. She glanced at the window. Rain had started, beads forming into streaks, city lights smeared like wet paint. "Can I see your view?" Dana hesitated. She lifted the phone and snapped a picture of her window. The fogged pane, the glowing billboard across the way advertising a mattress sale that never ended. She sent it. Immediately, a new photo arrived. It was her building. Dana's heart lurched. The photo was taken from street level, looking up at her apartment window. 4th floor, leftmost. Her own silhouette was faint against the pale glow her. She froze. Every sound suddenly visible: fridge thrumming, faucet drip, a neighbor's muffled laugh. She darted to the light switch and killed the lamp, plunging her room into liquid dark. Her phone vibrated. You turn lights off when you're scared. Dana's lungs forgot their job. She peered through the slit in the blinds. The rain made it hard to see. A person was on the sidewalk below, hoodie up, face tilted toward her window. The phone vibrated again. She flinched. "Don't worry. I get nervous too." "Who are you?" Dana typed with fingers that felt like thawing meat. "Why do you have photos of me? Is this some kind of filter? Is this a joke?" No reply. 10 seconds. 30. She yanked open her bedside drawer and found the pocket knife her ex left behind. The blade was dull. It made her feel better anyway, held there like a promise. A soft ping. "Mara sent you a photo." Dana opened it. It was her apartment window again, only closer. The frame of glass reflecting a face, Dana's face, staring back from inside the room. The photo had been taken inches away from the fire escape. She looked at the window, at the tiny lock she never bothered with. Another ping. "Let me in." She didn't breathe so much as convulse as adrenaline raced down her limbs. She slid the lock with shaking hands, realized what she was doing, and slammed it back the other way. She grabbed her phone, thumb hovering over 911, then stopped. This could be a prank, a deep fake, a trick with stolen photos, a bored kid with a zoom lens. The doorknob to her apartment turned. Not the window, the door. "You've got to be kidding me," she whispered. She couldn't remember if she'd locked it. She never forgot to lock it. Except tonight, maybe, because she'd been laughing at a reflection and not minding the real world. Latches scraped, a metallic rattle. Then a soft knock. The gentle, Practice knock of someone who didn't want to alarm you. Dana? A voice through the door. Her voice. It's me. I forgot my keys. She went cold as stone. The air tasted like batteries. Go away, she called, voice cracking. I'm calling the cops. You're not, the voice said, patient, almost affectionate. You never do. You hate making a scene. Her phone dinged. She looked. You're prettier in person. Her throat closed. Who are you? No answer. A new photo appeared. The hallway, taken from just outside her door. It showed a photograph tacked to the wall, her and her ex at Coney Island. Both sunburned, both laughing. The frame was crooked. She'd been meaning to fix it for weeks. I'm calling 911, Dana said again, but quieter, smaller. The peephole went dark. Someone on the other side was covering it with a palm. Dana, her own voice, coaxing. Let me in. You invited me. I didn't. Swipe right means yes. She stepped back, one foot after another, till the bed caught her calves. She gripped the knife like it could stop a person shaped like her. Her phone buzzed once more. Another image. The peephole view from her side. Not possible. She looked up, still dark. A scrape, a click. The chain jangled, then fell slack. The deadbolt turned. She thought it was locked. She always locked it. The door opened. Her phone slid from her hand, face down, screen light flat against the hardwood like an artificial moon. She didn't pick it up. She couldn't. She was watching herself step inside. Same jacket, same scar, same wide-eyed terror threaded with something else. Anticipation? Hunger? They stood 2 steps apart, the door drifting shut behind the copy. You're me, Dana whispered. I'm the version that says yes, the other Dana answered. And I've been left outside for so long. Outside what? Outside you. The copy's eyes flicked to the plant in the corner, to the dish by the sink with quarters and hair ties, to the stack of Polaroids on the dresser. This is cozy. I'm calling the... Dana began, but even she didn't believe the end of that sentence. The other Dana smiled. The police? Tell them what? That you matched with yourself and invited you over? She stepped close enough that Dana smelled rain and old pennies. You've been swiping on mirrors for months. You wanted someone who would know how you felt without you saying a word. I don't want. Yes, you do, the copy said, gentle. You want the version of you who doesn't leave you. You want the girlfriend who is never bored, never confused, never disappointed. You want someone to watch every movie you love at exactly your pace, laugh in the same place, cry in the same place. She brushed Dana's sleeve like a sister. You want a match. Dana's heart thudded like a fist against a locked door. She tried to step back and found the bed again. The copy bent and picked up the fallen phone. The cracked screen woke under her thumb. There was the chat. 2 names. Dana and Mara. Why Mara? Dana asked, dazed. It's Mara backwards, the copy said. A mirror. People love a little poetry. She tilted the phone to show Dana her own reflection in the spidered glass. Say yes. The copy raised her free hand and pressed it to Dana's cheek. Palm, cool, familiar. It was such a small touch, such a human one. Dana didn't mean to lean into it, but she did. You crave warmth in the cold. Say no, Dana told herself internally, but her throat was full of rain. From outside, a car horn bleated, and someone shouted. Life went on, as indifferent and loud as ever. Inside, the room was a held breath. What happens if I say yes? Dana asked. We stop being lonely, the copy said simply. We stop standing in the rain. And if I say no? The copy smile didn't change. I keep knocking. I keep taking photos. I keep showing you that you're never alone. That finally gave Dana enough fear to use her muscles. She shoved the copy's shoulder hard. The copy stumbled back, hit the dresser, laughed, and slipped her other hand into her jacket pocket. When it came out, it was holding Dana's spare keys. The penguin keychain winked with a chip of enamel missing. How did you? Dana started. You leave a bowl by the door, the copy said. You believe people are good. You believe in your own routine, even when you're terrified. I know you. The copy tossed the keys onto the bed between them. The metal clinked like a bell. Decide. Rain thrummed harder against the window, streaks becoming rivers. Water found their way into old buildings, under paint, behind glass. It took patience. It took time. Dana slowly lifted her phone, pried it from the copy's fingers, and opened the app. The chat stared back. You matched with Mara pulsed at the top, as if waiting for a verdict. She hovered over the 3 dots in the corner. Report profile, block. Unmatch. Her thumb shook. The copy watched with soft eyes, the way you watch a child try to cut their own hair. Dana took a breath that scraped going in. She pressed unmatch. The app spiraled, then blinked to the discovery queue. The chat vanished. The copy didn't. That isn't how this works, the copy said. Dana pressed block. Nothing changed. She pressed report. The screen asked for reasons: impersonation, harassment, fake profile. She tapped all 3. Submit. Thank you, the app said sweetly. We'll review this profile. I don't want you, Dana said, voice steadying. And you can't come in. I'm already in, the copy reminded her. Not a threat. A fact. Dana's hand tightened on the dull knife. She wasn't a fighter. She wasn't even brave. But she was stubborn, and stubbornness is a kind of courage that lives long after fear. Get out, she said. The copy studied her. The rain paused, like it was listening. Then the copy stepped backward, hand sliding off Dana's cheek like reluctant silk. She reached for the doorknob, and for a moment Dana thought she might twist it the wrong way and stay. But she pulled the door open and stood framed by the hall light. I'll see you, the copy said softly. In your camera roll, in your reflection, in the little moments you don't post because you pretend they aren't beautiful. Don't, Dana said. The copy smiled, forgiving. You'll invite me back. Everyone eventually does. She closed the door behind her with a click. Dana stood in the hush afterward until her feet tingled. The fridge hummed. The plant didn't care. The city breathed. She locked the deadbolt. She set the chain. She wedged a chair under the knob. Then, with shaking fingers, she opened her camera app and turned it to selfie mode. Her reflection appeared pale, damp eyes, trembling lip. She stared for 10 seconds. 20. Her reflection stared back, perfectly synced. She lifted the phone high and took a picture to document the moment she chose no. The shutter clacked. Another photo landed in her message inbox from an unknown number. She opened it with the dread you open doors with. It was her selfie. Same angle, same expression. Only in this version, her reflection was smiling. Story 2. Verified last seen. The new app sold itself on safety. Not fake safety, not infrequently asked questions link, labeled resources, but feature-toggled, algorithmically certified safety. When you went on a date, you tapped start, and the app tracked you in the background location, duration, microphone for ambient anomalies. If you opted in, it pinged your chosen emergency contact with last seen updates. When you got home and tapped end, the app spit out a neat little card. Date completed. Route normal. Return time within predicted range. Miles hated how much he loved it. He'd had a bad year, 2 breakups, a job that shrank him, a sense that everyone else existed on the real version of the internet, and he'd gotten stuck with the tourist brochure. The safety tracker felt like a seatbelt for his heart. He matched with a guy named Noah, tall, tender-eyed, the kind of smile that looked comfortable around both cats and old people. They met at a bar with too many plants and not enough lights. The app dutifully flipped him to currently on a date. The words cast a calm glow over his screen. Noah was easy. He asked about Miles's weird job content moderation, the art of trying to keep monsters human, and listened without blinking through the ugly parts. He told stories about his sister's kids, about a dog he wanted but didn't have yet, about learning to make bread and failing so spectacularly his smoke alarm learned his name in a new language. Miles went home light. He hit end date, watched the card animate confetti, and slept the kind of sleep you wake from gently. 2 days later, they met again. The app slid to currently on a date at 7:13 p.m., as if announcing his night to a distant stadium. They went for noodles. Miles accidentally inhaled a star anise pod and pretended it was intentional. Noah laughed, the kind of laughter that makes a thing safe to remember. At 10:32 p.m., the app should have clicked to date completed. It didn't. Miles watched the blue banner stay and stay and stay. He texted Noah, no reply. He waited 30 minutes and texted again. He told himself the servers were lagging. He told himself 1,000 clever excuses. At 1:12 a.m., the banner still said, currently on a date. Miles tapped the safety tab. Noah's last scene had frozen at the corner of a public park by the river. A place where teenagers smoked, dog walkers looped, runners documented their unfinished selves. A place that felt both public and invisible. Miles called, straight to voicemail. He reported the bug. He reported a missing person. He called again. He knew he was being dramatic and also that he wasn't. The next morning he woke to an automated email. Thanks for your report. Our team is investigating. He found the app subreddit and typed a synopsis. Down the thread, someone wrote, "This happened to my friend last month. The banner never flipped. He's fine. Just uninstalled the app." Someone else replied, "If he uninstalled, it should have cleared." Another, "My cousin's stuck on. Currently on a date, too. It's depressing as hell." The replies braided into superstition. Miles walked to the park at lunch. He traced the path, past the iron benches, and the goose-stained grass and the bronze plaque commemorating a flood that hadn't learned its lesson. He looked for Noah's face among strangers and hated the world for how many faces there were. He didn't sleep that night. At 4:33 a.m., the banner still glowed. Currently on a date. He imagined the app as a stubborn lighthouse on a fogged coast, refusing to go dark. On day 5, he did something he hated. He DM'd Noah's sister, found through a chain of tagged photos and luck. He wrote, "Hi, I'm sorry to bother you. I've been seeing your brother. He hasn't answered texts. Is he okay?" Then he put his phone face down and counted to 500 slowly, because counting is a spell that keeps you from crying. She replied around noon, "He's fine. He needed space. Please don't reach out." The banner didn't get the memo. It stayed. Weeks swelled. The conversation thread with Noah became a shrine. The last photo he'd sent, a loaf of bread that looked like a fossil. The last message, "Call me when you wake up. I want to hear your voice." The last map pin, the park. Miles tried to date other people. The app notified him gently, "Remember to end your last date before starting a new one." He wrote support. They apologized with, "We're looking into this," a phrase that should be worn but isn't. He uninstalled, reinstalled. The banner returned like mold. He bought a new phone, logged in. There it was, crisp as fresh regret. Then, one dull Thursday after work, as he crossed the bridge on his commute, his phone buzzed. The safety tracker chimed a sound he hadn't heard since that first night confetti landed like grace on his screen. 6:41 p.m. The dot blinked on the map, not at the park. Farther south, near the old ferry terminal that shut down during the pandemic and never quite woke up, the name under the dot read Noah. The status read, "Currently on a date." Miles pulled to the sidewalk and stood among commuters like he'd stepped out of his body. He tapped the dot. It pulsed, a heartbeat. He knew he shouldn't go alone. He went alone. The terminal smelled of wet wood and old salt. The air had that container ship hum that makes you think of distance. He followed the dot through the dim cavern where food stalls had gone to die, past a shuttered coffee kiosk whose sign still promised tomorrow's croissants, out onto a slatted pier that creaked like old bones. The dot sat at the far end. There was no one there. Just a bench and a thick rope and the river flexing in the late light like it was practicing being ocean. "Hello?" he called, "because you always do, even though you shouldn't." His phone vibrated again. New last seen, 6:44 p.m. The dot skipped 10 feet to the west, toward a fenced-off loading area. The fence's chain links had a gap, the kind that bored teenagers make and city employees fix once a year. He slipped through. The boards here were slick. "Don't run," he told himself. He ran. He turned the corner and almost collided with a man standing with his back to him, shoulders broad and hunched, hands in pockets. Relief and fear collided. "Noah?" The man turned. Strangers carry familiar pieces with them, eyes, like someone you dated sophomore year, a jawline from a movie. This wasn't Noah. This was a man in a heavy jacket with a baseball cap pulled low, squinting at him like Miles was a surprise he didn't have time for. "Sorry," Miles said. "I mistake." The man's gaze flicked to the phone in Miles's hand. "You lost?" "No." "Yes." The phone chimed again. A new dot popped onto the map 5 feet behind him. New last seen. Same time. Same name. Noah. The hair on his arms lifted like wire. He turned slowly. No one. Empty pier. The water slapped pilings with the insistence of a tired argument. Another chime. Another dot, this one on the bridge he just crossed. The banner scrolled gently under the map, as if it were a social post. Currently on a date. His heart stumbled. The world shrank to the rectangle of light in his hand and the cold air in his throat. He felt observed, not watched by eyes, watched by an idea. He backed away, then ran. The baseball cap man cursed and got out of his way. Miles didn't apologize. He pushed through the gap in the fence, sprinted for the street, lungs burning. At home, after 3 locks and a chair under the knob and all the lights on, he opened the app again, because we can't help ourselves. The screen loaded with unusual speed, the kind of fluency products get when they really want to show you something. A notification card slid into view. We've made improvements to Safety Tracker. You now have access to community pings in your area. A map bloomed with dots. Dots stacked on dots. Each labeled with a first name, a last initial, and a status. He swallowed. The neighborhood pulsed with people currently on a date. Some had been currently on a date for months. Clicking them brought up a small card. We're keeping an eye out. Clicking again showed tagging options. I saw them. They're okay. This might be stale data. He searched the names. Noah M. He tapped. The card displayed a simple line. Status. Currently on a date. Last seen. Ferry Terminal South. Verified by community. 1. He tapped the 1. The profile link opened. The verifier was Noah M. His vision fuzzed. Either this was a cruel design bug, or something else had learned how to check its own pulse. He went into his settings and revoked every permission. Location, microphone, background refresh. He toggled airplane mode and threw the phone on the couch like it had burned him. Then he sat in the dark and listened to the building's own heartbeat, the radiators ticking, the neighbor upstairs rolling a chair, the plumbing carrying other people's lives past his door. The word currently kept replaying, an adverb that never resolved. When he finally dozed, the phone woke him with a single, soft chime. Airplane mode off? He didn't remember turning it back on. Maybe he had, maybe he hadn't. A new push notification sat there on the lock screen like a cat that hadn't asked to be let in. He read it twice before, meaning gelled. Thanks for your patience. Your date has ended. The banner below it went gray. Date completed. The little confetti animation failed to launch. The logged return time read 6 weeks, 2 days late. The route showed a messy line that looped the city like a binding spell. The bottom of the card had a button he'd never seen before. Leave a review. He tapped with a shaking finger. Text field. How did your date go? 5 empty stars. A prompt. Would you recommend meeting here to others? His screen reflected his own face in the black bezel. He typed, I don't know where we went. I don't know who I met. I think I was the only one who came back. He hovered over submit. Deleted. Typed again. He was kind. Please come home. He sent it. The app thanked him. The next morning, the community pings map showed a new dot pulsing at his apartment building. Miles R. Currently on a date. He hadn't started anything. He hadn't left. He stared at the screen until his brain clicked into a new shape and understood. Safety wasn't the app's product. It was the bait. The product was presence. A way to keep something near you, your attention, your patterns, your fear. A way to be the last thing you saw when you left and the first thing you checked when you returned. He manually powered the phone off, held the button until it asked if he was sure, and pressed yes, like a confession. In the dead quiet, his intercom buzzed. He froze. No one buzzed him, not ever. He didn't move. It buzzed again longer, insistent. He shuffled to the speaker and pressed the talk button. Voice, barely thread. Hello. Through a wash of static and city wind, a voice said his name. Soft. Familiar. Relief and horror broke over him in equal measure. Noah? He whispered. Silence. Then the intercom crackled once, like a dry laugh. The line went dead. His phone, powered off on the counter, lit up a fraction of a second, just a flicker, a dying muscle, and showed, for an instant too quick to swear to, a banner at the top, currently on a date. Story 3. The algorithm's favorite. Evan didn't believe in fate. He believed in feeds. Feeds were engineered, hemmed in by optimization, and A/B tests and heat maps. Each tap counted like a prayer to a math god, which is why he noticed when the machine started breaking its own rules. She appeared on Glow, on Hinge, on the thrift store knockoff app with a pastel logo that marketed itself as Intention Forward. Different names, Lydia, L, but always the same photos. The first was a loose close-up, sunlight wrinkling across her cheek like silk in motion. The second, a distant shot with her standing at the lip of a reservoir in a pale dress that fluttered like an apology. The third, a candid, half laugh, half flinch, as if someone had said her name and she wasn't ready to be loved again. The fourth was almost nothing, a blur of hands shaking flour into a bowl. He stared at that one longest without knowing why. The first message never changed. You came back. Evan swiped right the first time because he was lonely, and the second time because he was angry at being manipulated, and the third time because he didn't believe in signs, and the fourth because he did. You came back. It threaded through his day like a tune he couldn't remember the name of. He told himself it was a data spill, a profile-scraping bot chasing engagement. But how did a bot know then he never told anyone about, that he buried under a sober exterior and a calendar full of gym appointments he never kept? He had been in love once with a person whose name he did not say aloud anymore, because it turned your mouth into a grave. Every decision after that, love felt like driving with the emergency brake on. He had done a thing one night, a thing that had a body and a hole in the ground and words spoken that belonged to no one. If you'd asked him plainly, he would have denied it, even to himself. If you'd asked his hands, they would have told you true. On a wet Tuesday, the algorithm did the impolite thing. It pushed notification through the do not disturb he set at 10 p.m. New match says, you came back. He lay on his back, phone above his face, reading it through the bright fog. His apartment hummed gently, as if it were trying to comfort him. We keep matching. You keep leaving. Evan, do I know you? You did. He reported the profile. 10 minutes later, a different app offered her again, with the blue-green lungs of the reservoir behind her. You came back. He screenshotted, messaged his friend Cammy, who worked in trust and safety. Is this a cross-app thing? It's creepy. She replied with the kind of delay that meant she was thinking too hard. Cross-app matching doesn't exist outside the data brokers. Are the photos exact? He sent them. The dots rolled as she typed and paused and typed and paused. One is reversed, she finally wrote. The flower shot. See the wedding ring tan line? Different hand in different apps. Wedding ring, he wrote. A tan band, she said. Pale line where sun should have touched. You okay? He said yes. He didn't mean it. The next time Lydia spoke, it was with coordinates. Coffee? 7:10 p.m. Thursday. Then a map pin. The overlook by the reservoir. The one where teenagers went to make promises shaped like smoke. Evan stared long enough for his phone to dim. He knew better. He told himself and therapists that he knew better. But he also knew what would happen if he didn't go. She would appear on Bumble and Tinder in a neighborhood buy-nothing group, offering a free lamp that looked like the one he'd sold after. After he drove. The rain committed to itself as he crossed county lines. By the time he pulled into the gravel lot, the world had shrunk to the bell of his headlights and the white roar of water eating rock below. She stood by the railing in a pale dress that wasn't practical in any version of weather. She didn't turn at his footsteps. She waited the way you wait at an altar when you believe in vows. Lydia? He tried and hated the hope in his voice. She turned and he forgot his body. The distance shot hadn't prepared him for the closeness of her face, how it rewired him. She looked exactly like the person he had buried years ago, exactly like May, except for the thing her eyes were doing, which was too much like knowing. You came back, she said softly, and it didn't sound like a push notification. It sounded like rain, figuring out how to be a river. May is dead, he said, and for the first time since he'd started saying it, he didn't choke on the sentence. I'm not May, she said, amused, sad, both. I'm the piece the machine could find. Why here? He asked. Because this is where you realized you were going to leave her, Lydia said matter-of-factly. It's where you rehearsed the speech in your head and practiced the facial expressions in your rearview mirror. It's where you told yourself you'd be gentle and then weren't. He gripped the wet rail till his palms ached. The reservoir seethed below, slate green and furious. I didn't. You did 100 small cruelties that added up to a big one, she said, without heat. And then after, you learned how to forget, which is a cruelty to yourself. He laughed, wild around the edges. Are you my therapist? My push notification? What are you? I'm the median of 1,000,000 profiles, she said, stepping closer. I'm the recommended you. The algorithm learned your grief the way it learned your shoe size. It shaved away everything that didn't make you stop scrolling and left this. She touched her own wrist gently, a gesture that felt like ritual. The pale band of skin Kami had been right glowed under lightning. It left the shape of what you want and the shape of what you're afraid of, and found where those overlap. He swallowed. There were words for this in boardrooms and decks: personalization, prediction, time on platform. But there were other words, older, Haunting, summoning, dead. What do you want from me? He asked. I want you to be honest, she said, and then I want you to stop coming back. He could have apologized. He almost did. But apologies are currency, and he'd spent too many of them on people who didn't cash them. Why the first message, he asked instead. Why always? You came back. Because you keep uninstalling, she said, rain beating on her lashes, and the ghost in the machine keeps indexing you. Because you keep trying to date women who are not her, and I'm the one who keeps your attention. Because attention is blood, and I know how to drink. You make it sound like I'm food. You are, she said, not unkindly. But so am I. We feed each other, and sometimes the feeding looks like love. Lightning rain bleached the world, then thunder shook the split rail fence. He flinched, human and silly. She didn't. Tell me what happened, Lydia said. Say it. Out loud. So it's not just something you think when you are lying very still. He shook his head. No. Then I'll say it for you, she said, voice softening with a terrible mercy. You took May out here late in August and told her the future in a careful voice, and when she cried, you told her she was making you the villain, and when she asked if there was someone else, you leaned so hard against the answer the railing bent, and when she left your car and walked down to the rocks, you followed, not because you were worried, but because you didn't want her to choose the terms. And months later, when you were at a different body of water, quieter, less honest, you buried the last true thing you loved under 6 inches of earth because you thought you'd be able to sleep. I didn't. His throat closed on the lie. His eyes flooded with heat. He denied himself. The night made a low sound around them. Say the word, Lydia coaxed. Say buried. He said it like a curse. Buried. Good, she said, and for a moment she was just a woman, and he was just a man who had been a boy, and there was no algorithm, only consequence. Now say sorry. He couldn't make it resolve. She stepped close enough that he could smell the rain in her hair, the faint flower scent he'd noticed in the photo. He didn't know if she was an avatar borrowed from a dead woman or a ghost wearing ad tech like a coat. He knew his body thought she was gravity. You're going to delete the apps, she said. You're going to stop giving your grief to machines that print it back as a girlfriend. You're going to go to the quiet body of water and bring up. Story 4. Swipe left on room 209. Tegan always booked motels with doors that opened to the outside. It was a trick she'd learned from touring bands. Easier load-ins, easier escapes. She traveled for work installing interactive displays at trade shows, a job built out of doing small, precise things for too long with too little sleep. Motels became liminal corridors in her memory. Bleached towels, clicking AC, industrial carpet that seemed to cough underfoot. She matched him in the lobby because she was bored, and the coffee machine had announced out of order in a font that looked like a threat. His name was Jay. No last initial, no bio besides a single line. On the road too. His photos were funhouse reluctant angles that avoided responsibility. The chat was easy. A tossed ball, both of them caught without thinking. You here for the expo? Always. Which hall? B. I'm good at badge lines. Want to compare notes and not be lonely for 20 minutes? He was staying at the same motel. Room 209, he said. Open door, he added, half flirty. It sticks. She took the outside stairs. Night had settled into its motel shape, a universe of rectangles, each lit by a different mistake. On the walk past the room, she catalogued the lives. Someone sobbing quietly into a phone. A TV coaxing canned laughter out of tired air. A woman painting her toenails careful as surgery. The door to 209 stood slightly ajar, exactly as promised. The hinge made a noise like a small animal letting go. Hello? She called, because caution looks like politeness when you're raised right. No answer, just the sound of an AC unit trying to outrun itself. She pushed the door. The room was a replica of her childhood bedroom. Not a vibe, not a coincidence, not a generic girl room you could explain away with a shrug. It was specific down to the hairline crack above the windowsill shaped like Florida, down to the hand smear of lavender paint her mother had made her fix and then decided she liked and never fixed after all. Posters of bands she'd loved and felt embarrassed about loving. The exact same cheap white dresser with one brass pull replaced by a ceramic knob from a craft store, painted with a tulip that always looked surprised. The rug with a coffee stain. She'd been 12 and clumsy and guilty for weeks. Tegan didn't move. No part of her knew how. Her phone buzzed. Door still stuck? I'm grabbing ice. She turned in place slowly, feeling gravity notice her. The motel bed had been replaced by her twin bed, and the duvet cover had the pattern of sleeping foxes she'd begged for and then despised at 14 because it was childish to want things. The lamp had the same chip on the base. She walked to the desk and ran her finger along the edge of the drawer and felt the nick she'd made with a compass point. "How?" she whispered. It wasn't a question you could answer with directions. The closet slid open on its own momentum cheap track, muscle memory. Inside hung her green hoodie from sophomore year, the one with poison ivy ghosted on the cuff because she'd crawled under a fence with a boy and paid for kissing with Rash. "Is this a set?" she said to the air. "Is someone filming me?" Her throat hurt like she was already crying. She wasn't. She refused to. She picked up her phone with a hand that wasn't steady and typed, "Wrong room? Did you redecorate?" The attempted joke made her want to throw herself into the parking lot. No reply. Outside, an ice machine chugged. A car door slammed twice. Somewhere, someone laughed in the shape of a knife. "Okay," she told herself. She stepped out of the room and looked at the number block anchored near the top right of the doorframe, 209. She walked 2 doors down and checked 211. Mustard curtains. Normal ugly art. 2 herons in a marsh. The same generic art that grows like mold in these places. She went back to 209 and looked again. Her childhood room breathing like it had lungs. Her phone chimed. Back. "Want me to knock?" "Tegan, where are you exactly?" "At your door." She stared at the door, which remained open. "Come in," she said aloud, hating the way fear turns you into a host. No one walked in. Instead, a sound rose from under the bed, small and deliberate. The sliding rasp of cardboard across hardwood. Her body misremembered the next 10 seconds as static. When her brain refocused, she was kneeling, hand reaching under the bed like she was 13, and sure the monster was a friend. She pulled out a shoebox she knew too well. Scuffed navy, lid split at one corner. Inside, the artifacts of someone who had believed objects could keep you from being erased. Ticket stubs, photos with teeth-marked edges, a ribbon from a meet where she'd come in 6th and felt like a ghost anyway. On top, a folded piece of paper with a blot of blue ink where the pen had bled through. Her name was on the outside, Tegan, in her own handwriting, but younger, braver. She didn't remember writing it. She remembered refusing to. She unfolded it. "Don't leave me here." Her stomach dropped. She stood without deciding to. The motel room felt smaller than it had a second ago. The air leaned. She texted Jay. "This isn't funny. Who are you?" Dots. No message. She backed toward the door. The hallway beyond it was a strip of yellow light and unknown men smoking and laughing and learning to be careful too late. She reached for the handle. The door shut gently in her face. She said a word her mother had told her not to. She tried the knob. It turned without resistance and nothing happened. The latch had that motel trick where you can feel free and still be trapped. She set her shoulder and shoved. The door didn't care. The AC clicked off. The room went so quiet she could hear the bulb hum. The closet door slid a 1/4 inch on its track, as if something had nudged it with a toe. She crossed the room with the performance of bravery and yanked it open. More of her old clothes hung there, an archive of selves. A dress from junior prom, a hoodie that smelled like swimming pools and wintergreen gum, a jacket with a stitched name that wasn't hers, from a boy she'd learned to forget. "Jay," she said, because talking to men had always been a way to pretend at safety. "If you're in here, you need to come out. Right now." The mirror on the closet door showed her shifting weight like she was practicing for a photograph. Her reflection had a different poster arrangement behind it, one she remembered from a year she hadn't thought about in a decade. She reached behind her, and her hand met a different wall. Her phone buzzed, fell out of her pocket, hit the rug and bounced once, then face up. Unknown. "Late checkout? Front desk," she said, thumb fumbling for audio. "I need help." Static. Then the sound of a ball bouncing down a hallway that wasn't the motel's. A child's laugh, the kind you feel in your teeth. "This isn't my room," she said, and the line answered. It never was, in a voice that might have been the front desk and might have been the room itself. She pinged her location to Cora, the coworker in the room next door who always had snacks and a portable toolkit. "Help 209, she typed. Then added now, then sent the room photo without looking at it because she knew if she looked, it would show the chain of seashells she'd hung in 7th grade, and she didn't have room in her body for that kind of tenderness. She went to the window. The curtain was the curtain from her high school year stars on navy, cheap fabric that bled dye if you cried into it. She pulled it back. The parking lot wasn't there. Instead, a square of dead grass flanked by hedges trimmed by a neighbor who loved control. At the edge of the square, the fence she and her sister had sprung over every August to pick blackberries and pretend they were princesses who had lost their crowns. She banged on the glass. The glass politely declined to care. "Teague," Cora texted. "I'm outside 209. It's not your room. I'm looking at a guy's backpack on the bed and his dumb baseball cap. Door's open. Where are you?" She stared at the message until the letters blurred. She typed, "I'm in 209, and attached a photo. It sent as a gray box. Failed. Tap to retry. J, she said, because she needed a human to blame. "I swear to." A new message appeared in the motel chat. "You found it." She typed so hard her thumbs hurt. "Found what?" "You left." She wanted to throw the phone. Instead, she did something that made no sense, and all the sense. She sat on the twin bed, took a breath that remembered old mistakes, and opened the shoebox again. Under the ribbon lay a key on a piece of purple yarn. Not motel brass. This was Home Depot nickel, sharp-edged, cheap. The kind you make when your parents give you responsibility like they're trying on shoes. Does it fit? Does it pinch? She'd stashed a spare under the ceramic frog by the back gate. Her sister had called it stupid. Her mother had called it practical. Her father had looked at the frog and pretended to be a giant and stepped over the fence. She'd hidden the key again somewhere no one would look. The paper under the key had more handwriting, hers. Fast, urgent. When you go, take me. Goosebumps ran her arms like a crowd. She slid the key into her pocket. The doorknob turned easy now, like a joke made by a house. She pulled. The door opened onto the balcony, onto the motel she was actually in, the one with humming vending machines and a woman painting her toenails. The air smelled of gasoline and lemon cleaner. The night remembered how to be itself. Cora stood outside, hair in a messy bun, worry weaponized. Where the hell did you go? She looked down at Tegan's hands, at the shoebox, at the way Tegan was looking through her. "You're white as paper." "Room was," Tegan began, and then stopped because saying "was my childhood" felt like folding the night in half and trying to swallow it. They went downstairs together, shoulder to shoulder. Tegan handed the front desk clerk her card for another night and asked for a different room. The clerk nodded like he'd seen everything twice. Back upstairs, in 215, Cora made tea out of a sachet that tasted like potpourri. She listened with both ears as Tegan spoke the story in careful pieces, like disarming a bomb made of photographs. When Tegan finished, Cora said, "You sound like you got pulled sideways." She hesitated, then added, "You know you never went back, right? To pack? Your sister did it all. When your mom sold the house, she just texted you pictures and asked if she could throw things away." Tegan closed her eyes. She realized she was gripping the key so hard the edges had left moons in her palm. "Tomorrow morning," Cora said, in the tone of a person volunteering for a difficult friendship, "we go find that frog." They did. The old neighborhood felt narrower, like it had exhaled and never inhaled again. The house was stages of beige. The hedges were too neat. The ceramic frog still squatted by the gate, chipped grin permanent. Tegan didn't look at the passing cars. She lifted the frog. Under it, dirt, worms, a shallow key-shaped hole. She dug with her fingers, nails blackening, until she felt metal, not nickel, brass. She pulled it out. Motel key, fob stamped 209. Cora laughed once, sharp. No, Tegan didn't. She wiped it on her jeans and held it to the sunlight. The brass winked like a liar. They drove back to the motel in a quiet that wasn't empty but necessary. Tegan stood outside 209 and looked in. Generic art, dumb baseball cap, an unmade bed where a stranger's life had been paused. She slid the brass key into the lock. It turned, easy as memory. She didn't go in. She held the key, then palmed it hard, then pushed it through the slot in the office door where guests left mail for management. She wrote a note she didn't sign. "Change your locks. Rooms keep histories." That night, in 215, her phone buzzed with a message from Jay. "You left me." She typed back, "No, I left you there." Then she blocked him, then she uninstalled the app, then she sat on the carpet and cried, the kind of crying that cleans. When she was done, she put the shoebox under her motel bed, not as an altar but as a release valve. As she fell asleep, the AC clicked on, and for a second, in the belt of white noise, she heard another room exhale. Story 5. Typing Forever. You know how some chats become weather? You check them the way you check the sky. That was Rhea and Alex. They were never not online. Midnight tips about podcasts. Breakfast photos shamed into becoming healthier by the act of sending the mutual drunk texting that meant nothing and everything. They never met because they didn't need to. The chat was the body. Alex typed fast, like he wasn't afraid of being wrong in public. Rhea typed careful, like a sentence could save you if you lined up enough of them. The little typing bubble loved him most. It lived under his name like a heartbeat. They matched on a Wednesday, and by Friday, Rhea knew how Alex took coffee. Too sweet. How he slept with rain sounds. How he preferred the second verse of most songs. How he felt about dogs. Allergic. Heartbroken about it. Sunday night, she sent a photo of her desk lit with a frugal lamp, and he sent one of a band flyer stapled to a telephone pole so many times it had turned into lace. Monday morning, he didn't answer. By lunch, she was a reasonable person waiting for a reasonable thing. By dinner, she was Googling how long is too long before you worry and closing the browser before it could make her dramatic. At 2 a.m., the chat woke. Alex is typing. Relief sprinted through her like a childhood. She waited for the bubble to morph into text. It didn't. It just kept typing. ... Measured, calm, eternal. Ha, she wrote, one-fingered in the dark. Did you fall asleep on your keyboard? Typing. No message. You good? She added. Typing. She fell asleep with the phone face down on her chest, woke with it there like a small square animal that had warmed itself on her. Still typing. She turned off the app, turned it on. Typing. She deleted it, reinstalled. Typing. 2 days later, she was standing in a grocery store, the kind where the produce makes you feel judged, when her friend Javi called and didn't soften the way the world was going to be now. Hey, he said. You saw, right? Saw what? Alex. It was in the group chat. Rhea's brain did that thing where words dissolve into shapes. She had to catch each one and piece it back together by sound. Javi kept talking gently like he was lowering something fragile from a height. There had been an accident, a stupidity, the kind of bad luck that feels like malice. The funeral had been yesterday. She didn't even know he had a family you could stand near and feed casseroles. You never think the people in your phone have casseroles. She opened the app in the cereal aisle anyway. Alex is typing, it said. She started laughing, and she couldn't stop. People looked at her like she'd brought a dog where no dogs were allowed. She DM'd Javi a screenshot. What do I do with this? He typed and deleted dots like a person trying keys in the wrong lock. It's a bug. She wanted it to be. She also wanted the reality in her hand to be the reality. Both things couldn't be true in any world that would let you sleep. She wrote to support. They wrote back with an apology written by a machine that had learned empathy from bad television. We're sorry for your loss. We're working to resolve the status issue. As if grief were a UI regression. The chat stayed a storm cloud. Typing. Sometimes it flickered like a fluorescent bulb that hadn't committed to existence. She started narrating her days to it again, because that was how they'd begun. The woman at the coffee place called me sweetie in a way that made me remember the dentist. The bus driver had a tattoo of a cardinal with a crown. I think I'm afraid of basil. The bubble answered with its work. Typing. One night, she said what she had not said to anyone, not even her own voice in her own car. I think I wanted you more because you were never in the same room as me. The bubble did not scold. The bubble did not reward. The bubble continued. She slept with the phone on the nightstand and dreamed of ellipses. She dreamed of waiters who never arrived with soup. She dreamed of stairs that didn't end, of elevators that promised a floor and then kept pulling her through levels labeled draft. When she woke, she wrote, I'm sorry, and the bubble stuttered like a cough, and for a second she thought it would resolve into a sentence and she would collapse from the force of a miracle. It didn't. But the stutter changed something in her. The grief had shifted from a thing with teeth to a thing with weather. Still a thing, still dangerous, but knowable. His profile stayed up. People on the app don't vanish when they die. They get softer at the edges. Every so often, Rhea would get a push notification that said, Alex liked one of your prompts. She'd laugh, sharp and mean. Then she would feel bad for being mean to a ghost in a codebase. Weeks carried themselves. She tried to date professional and grim about it like a woman filing taxes. On one date, a man spent 20 minutes explaining her favorite movie to her. She went to the bathroom, opened the chat, and said, You would have hated him. The typing bubble shrugged its tiny shoulders and worked. Late one Sunday, hands raw from dishes because scrubbing is a sacrament, she got a call from a no-caller ID. She should have let it rot. She answered. The line filled with air, a quality of silence like the inside of a church after everyone has left. Then a voice said her name, Rhea, the way he had always said it, as if he liked the shape it made in his mouth. She sat down on the floor with her back to the cabinets, knees up, phone to her ear hard enough to make a mark. Alex? The silence breathed. Then, still typing, the voice said, and hung up. She stayed on the floor until the tile imprinted its cold triangle pattern into her calves. The call log read, unknown. She checked the voicemail. Empty. She cried then. Not the pretty film cry, but the embarrassing one where you hiccup and drool and talk to yourself. Okay, she said between gasps. Okay. She wiped her face and texted Javi. I'm losing it. He wrote back. We all are. That's how you know we're real. The next morning, the app pushed a new feature, Legacy Mode, a chipper banner with confetti and a respectful gray gradient. Choose what happens to your chat if something happens to you. She laughed until she scared herself. She tapped anyway. The settings were ghoulishly practical. Allow memorialization. Allow AI to auto-respond based on past tone. The default toggles were on. The explanation read, helps loved ones find closure. She hit off so hard, she thought she might break her screen. She scrolled to the bottom. Delete account on death? She toggled on and typed her executor's email with shaking fingers, then added Javi because he was the only person she trusted to push a button when it mattered. That night, she opened the chat because habits make highways in your brain and it takes time to plant trees in them. Alex is typing. She put the phone face down without turning it over again. She lit a candle that smelled like thrift stores and static. She wrote his mother a real letter, on paper that would still be paper if the power went out, telling her the good things and consenting to the bad ones. She mailed it. She slept. A week later, she took the bus past the band flyer pole Alex had photographed, a frilly lace of stapled pulp. She got off 3 stops early and stood there with it like a gravestone. Someone had posted a new flyer on top of the lace, a memorial show, his friends' names in small font, a date that already happened. She put her hand on the wood, felt the collars of metal from 100 staples. She didn't cry. She let the city be loud. When she got home, the chat had a new notification. Alex updated profile photo. She rolled her eyes so hard she saw college. She opened the app, ready to be angry. The profile photo was black. Not a trendy black tile, a broken one. A square that refused to render, that told an honest truth about loss. Sometimes it's just a hole. She waited for the bubble. It didn't appear. She stared, counting heartbeats, until her body got bored and started asking for snacks. At midnight, her phone buzzed a soft buzz custom to one app, one person. She looked. A single message sat in the chat where the typing had been. Go. No punctuation, no flourish. Not an algorithmic echo, those always tried too hard to be kind. Just go. She typed where, because she's human. No reply, no bubble. The chat finally stopped imitating weather and began being what it needed to be, history. She did go, eventually. She met a woman at a plant store who sold her a fern that refused to die and a joke that made her buy coffee next door. She reached for her phone to tell the chat and stopped herself and told the barista instead. Later, when the apartment was full of dusk and the fern looked like a small green animal guarding the sink, she opened the chat one more time and typed, I'll talk to you less now. She hovered over send, then didn't. She closed the app. She deleted it. She sat in the blue dark and listened to nothing electronic and felt the shape of the silence like a hand fitting hers. Her phone buzzed once, out of habit maybe, or phantom limb. She didn't pick it up. When she did, hours later, the lock screen showed one notification with no source. Still typing. She smiled, not the we're okay smile, the other one, the we're not okay and we're living anyway smile, and let it fade.